everybody. Welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers, podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. My name is Callista, and the one who's fidgeting right next to me.
I like that you're sighing at me when you were like, hey,
making head-slapping noises.
I'm going to fucking start the podcast whether or not you're ready with your fucking hair or not.
Crazy. Yeah, I know. You're making head-slapping noises, and I was like, oh my God, you're being really aggressive with your head.
Because it's being a fool.
You want to talk about your hair for a second? Lou just cut her hair. Literally just cut it like 15 minutes ago. Decided to wear it down, and it looks really pretty down, but you do have a sensory thing about it being down.
I don't know how you guys do it. Genuinely, like, it's just touching. Like, it's touching my neck, it's touching my ear, it's touching my fucking scalp. Like, y'all people just be, and it's like in your face, which that I can at least pretend that I'm like emo, so I can
emo and cool. I
face.
will say, upon getting bangs when I'm tattooing, and like I have to lean down, sometimes it feels like I'm eating my hair. Yeah. So that part is kind of rough, but I'll just do the, but as far as like having my hair down, it's never been as a sensory overload thing, which I'm grateful for. I'm sorry that you're going through it. Mm-mm. But I wanted to start the podcast and give you an opportunity to braid your hair on the podcast. So that way people know how it's done. But if not, no worries.
Because it'll be done like while I'm driving or while I'm doing a consultation or just having conversations. I don't give a fuck.
I honestly think that's more impressive because I can't do my hair while doing things. I also can't do anything when I'm driving. I'm a bad driver enough as is. So when I drive, genuinely, it's the case of like my phone is down. I don't look at my phone. And not even to change the music, you press the button for that, no. And then I don't like to be on call with people while I'm driving either because it's too distracting. And I don't like driving people around because it's also too distracting. I'd much rather.
Is that why you don't like driving people around?
I think so. I think it's a little bit too distracting for me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I honestly just opted not to, which is the whole reason why I bought a coupe. So that way I wouldn't have groups of people in my car anymore.
I bought a hatchback so I didn't have to drive like lots of people around. Uh-huh. Dude, there's like one fucking...
Can you snip it off really fast?
No, it's like growing into the rest of it. Whatever. If it sticks out, it's right there, dude. I can feel him being weird.
What a nightmare. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's okay. Do you see how fast she just put her hair up in a braid like that?
There you go.
Not so. It looks good too.
Thanks. It feels much better. I tried. I was like, all right, I'm going to blow dry it and it's going to be cute and it's going to be down.
It was a very cute blowout.
I could not handle that because it's just all sorts of touching you. I don't know how you do it, dude.
I don't know either. I think I just get used to it, honestly. I think there's a lot of sensory things that overload me. Besides like temperature, if I'm too hot, I get flooded with like just anger. Oh, and then
which is really funny to me because like if I get too hot, you are like a rock in that situation because I freak out and we've talked about this on here before where I'll get stuck in my sweater and I'm panicking and I can't fucking handle it. Yeah. And you're always so calm, like, it's okay, let me help you out here. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think of you getting like freaked out if it's hot.
It doesn't happen too often because for the most part I've built systems around like me not being angry. One of the biggest systems during summer is I leave the car door open until I turn on the car, roll down the windows, and put on the AC at full blast. So that way it's like, I already know I'm remedying the thing. But nothing angers me more than when you get in a hot car and no one does anything about it. I'm like, we're all uncomfortable.
Which right? I feel really bad for you because my car is always warm.
It's not too bad.
Always cold.
Well, I'll just roll down the window at that point.
Yeah. I also like the window over AC because I hate AC. You know how I feel about that. It's either too hot or too cold. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, like, yeah, when it's like blasting into your eyes, and also my eyes dry out really fast, so that's super uncomfortable. I do like the windows more.
Yeah, windows are way better.
Yeah, I agree. Well, today we were kind of like bouncing around ideas on what to talk about. This might be another After Hours episode. We had a skeleton subject to talk about, which was how to de-stress.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like this is a good way to de-stress. So come and de-stress with us, you guys. Do you want to tell the origin story of the de-stressor subject?
So we were in therapy 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And our therapist, couples therapy, not
therapist. Not me and Lou. Just
Caris and I. And we were discussing how outside of our relationship, de-stress. Mm-hmm. And both him and I looked at each other like, what the fuck do we do to de-stress?
Mm-hmm. That's a crazy question, by the way.
Yeah, because every time we come in there, we go every 2 weeks and we're always like, oh yeah, and this and this and this and this and this and all this shit happened. And so she comments quite a bit of like, wow, you have a lot of things going on always. And so, yeah, she asked us and both of us were like, fuck, dude, I don't know. And she's like, okay, spend some time, think about it, and maybe like see what systems you can put in your life to help you de-stress.
Yeah. And honestly, when you came home and asked me that question, I also looked like a deer in headlights. I was like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
That like I couldn't come up. But now that that question's been saturated in our brains, I think I've come up with like a few answers.
Nice.
But I also came up with this theory that like personally, I'm of the belief that if you have a lot of things going on and you tend to be ambitious and hardworking and you strive after those things, rest is a lot more costly than it is for, and I don't mean to say this in a derogatory way, but like if you don't have big projects going on in your life all the time, it's less expensive. So rest for us is more expensive because like we always have shit going on and we're always like putting 110% into that shit. And again, that's not meant to shame anybody. Honestly, rest is good. We could use a little bit more rest, but like I said, a little bit costly. So as far as rest for us goes, I think I've realized that I'm leaning more into reading, which is a really good time. Honestly, for me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's a good way for me to de-stress if I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I just set a timer for like 15 minutes, sit down and I read something out of a book that I'm enjoying. And if I feel like going farther, then great. And the biggest thing is like trying not to short that time, but you can't help it. Sometimes you get antsy. Do you have an answer?
I think part of that, I just want to sidestep for a second.
Yeah.
Part of the, like us being really busy and something that I realize that we do is that we carve out little sections of time.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So it's not always a case of like, hey, we have like formal de-stress.
Yeah.
But what we'll do is like, we will just do impromptu lunch dates like together. When we're like, oh, wow, there's so much going on. We need to carve out these little moments where it's like, let's go get coffee. Let's go get like lunch. Let's go. Like we went to the movies the other night because most of us were just grumpy.
Oh my God. And that movie was so crazy.
And we were looking for escapism and we got it. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But I think it's about looking at where you can.
Yeah.
And also that it's not, for me, it was very like, it felt like a black and white question of like, you're either de-stressing or you're not. And I think that like, then I had to sit in a place of what do you do to like help regulate that? And then just paying attention to things that like have fallen to the side. Like obviously we've had an insane couple of weeks with the convention and all of like the prep for that and then the recovery. And I've realized that like I think it's partly because I do a lot like beforehand, but I need like a lot longer after to like decompress and de-stress. So like I still have to make a post about it, but I don't go on social media very much. Like I don't properly do social media like marketing after an event where I know I should, because for me that's just too much. So part of my de-stressing is just removing the need to do that and throwing my phone away.
Absolutely. We talked about this before where I think a lot of your work is the front load.
Yeah.
Right. And then when it comes to the event, it's like, okay, like this is where you kind of like start switching gears and like slowing down a little bit because there's just so much, to prepare for. And then mine is more on the back end.
Yes.
But I agree. I think that like planned de-stressing like items on your calendar are hard to come by.
Yeah.
Because Again, like I like to say like, oh, I found myself reading and like setting a timer of 15 minutes. It doesn't always work. And also, let's be real, like it's very few and far in between.
Well, you've been focusing on that lately, like putting that into practice. And I think that's good is to like put stuff into practice. But I think it's also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't.
I think that it's also about the adaptability of it.
Oh, so yes. I was
it's not just like, hey, and that was the hard part when we were asked that question is that like, that changes greatly all the time. So we have like a permanent Sudoku board that our friends gave me for Christmas. Dope ass present. Love it. And for a minute that was working really well to help to like de-stress and like just to like recollect myself. And right now it's like sitting off to the side because I know that I will come back to it, but accepting the fact that like those things change. So there's periods where I take a shit ton of showers because that's when I can like de-stress, or like after this convention, I just needed a lot of sleep. And so it's kind of listening to yourself to be like, hey, what do I need? Like there's periods of time that I'll be like, hey, the only thing that's going to help regulate me is working out more.
Totally.
And working out twice a day. And like, I haven't done yoga in the last almost 3 weeks now because that's just not where my body is like calling me to. And I'll step right back into that. But it's very much for me being neurodivergent, it's going with those ebbs and flows and like learning to accept those parts of myself where it's like, yeah, those little debrief moments, like we talked about this, where I can take like a 6-minute nap and feel fully recharged. So I try to just basically treat most things like that, where it's like, what can I do right here to release like some stress, or like, what do I need to take care of myself? And it doesn't necessarily look like self-care in like other people's terms of like, take a bubble bath. Cause I'm like, I don't want to fucking sit down in a fucking pool of soapy water.
Well, you have to be reasonable with yourself and check in, because I think that like it is also easy to find yourself in like, why isn't this helping? You know what I mean? Like where working out, like, yes, helps. But there are some days where it makes it worse.
Yes.
And you're like, I can't even focus on like completing this, or like, it's the same thing with reading. Like I'm not even focusing on what is on the page in front of me. How can I actually sit down? So yeah, that adaptability is key to finding actual de-stressors. And again, I think that I'm really glad that you brought up the fact that like within busy days, there will be pockets of time that we're like, oh, we actually do have time to go get breakfast.
Yes.
We should go and do that. That's smart. And that's our version of like trying to, keep the pace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like you build in these moments. And I think that's probably something that is, for people that are busier, it's like good to recognize like, where are you building in those moments? Or if you find yourself constantly overwhelmed, where could you build in those little moments? And for me, it'll be simple things like, I like to drive a lot. So like for us, I like to drive us because I find that to be like decompressing. But like when you go and get tattooed, I want to go with you. Not partly because, yes, I want to like learn, but not always because I don't want to just sit there the whole time, because that's fucking weird for the artist as well.
Totally.
But because for me, that allows me time to go and like sit at our Airbnb, because we travel for that, and just have time where I'm not in my normal environment and I can just relax.
Yeah.
So I have built in like, yes, that means that I get to take care of you in the fact that you don't want to drive. Great gravy. I love driving new places. So I get like a piece of enjoyment while also getting built-in designed rest.
Yeah.
Because when I'm at someone else's tattoo shop, I get to draw. I get to fucking do whatever I want to do. I get to like play on my phone. I get to do whatever that doesn't require me to work. And I think that like, it's one of those things that for most people, they'd be like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like you're still running errands. And I'm like, yeah, but I get to like have decompression in there, and just recognizing those patterns in yourself where it's like, okay, you drop your kids off at school. Can you sit in the parking lot for 10 minutes and just like take that to yourself?
Zone the fuck out. Yeah. For like 10 minutes. Absolutely. And I think that it is also key to that built-in rest kind of helps avoid burnout as well. But we've been really good about being more conscious about our schedules as well. 'Cause I recently had to reschedule a day because I was burnt out. I was like, I'm so sorry. I genuinely, when I think about tattooing, I don't think I can do a good job today. And I'm really sorry. But, eventually I'll get to a point where I stop overloading my schedule. And part of that is, realizing your patterns. So with the convention happening, it's a fairly new event for us. Because it's not like the one-day events that we typically hold, where it's like, okay, it's one crazy day before actually setting up, that prep, whatever. A convention is 3 days of like 12-hour work days, they're pretty fucking nuts. And so now I've come to realize like, oh, maybe it's a horrible idea to actually have a full schedule the week after a convention.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, more than a full schedule.
Yeah.
Because she was like scheduling herself to be at the studio for 12-hour days for 6 days following a convention, which is just insane. And I think it's also that we're like having relationships in your life that can also help you recognize those patterns. Because I looked at her calendar and was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. And then I was like I just, it's an ADHD blindness thing where it's like there's that event and then you forget that event happened. And then the next week, it's like, oh, well, this is a whole new week. It's like, no, unfortunately, energy doesn't work that way. Like your brain might work that way, where it's like, sure, we had an event and this week is a whole new week, but like you're still human. So I don't know, developing that kind of pattern recognition for yourself is huge. But yeah, like you said, also having other people to support you and say something. And say,
yeah, because you made me yesterday go through my calendar and mark off our fall break and our winter break. Yeah. Because I was like, yeah. And you're like, no, absolutely not. Like, do you want me to go on your calendar and do it? And I was like, you're right, I should. Because otherwise I have a tendency to work more days, just less hours. And you have a tendency to work more hours in like a shorter span of time. Yeah. And then you burn yourself out and you're like, fuck, dude.
Totally. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm coming to this point in my career as well where I'm learning to advocate for myself. Yeah. And I'm not making it as big of a deal because I think I used to make it a big deal. Like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm booking out really far. And I've learned that just subconsciously through my therapist because she just states her schedule very matter-of-factly of like, nope, I don't come in that day. And it's not a thing. Like, I don't sense any guilt from her. And, I think that it's going to be really beneficial. I'm finally moving on to that next stage. And I know that I'm going to disappoint some people because some people like really are excited to get in the schedule and want to get tattooed ASAP, or maybe they didn't realize I was booking out that far and they're moving within the month. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And I'm done carrying guilt over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, during summer, we tend to like grieve the fact that we aren't out as much.
Yeah. So and, like, trying to schedule less days in the studio.
Yes, actually making the effort to like avoid that pattern because that happens every summer where it's like, I'm really sad that we didn't do anything.
Yeah, we didn't do anything. Like
we're working.
Yeah, we're working. And now we have the ability to make our own schedule without somebody else like screaming at you because you took a day off.
Yeah.
So it's breaking that cycle, which is like where you're still like trying to get your brain out of that cycle.
Yeah, I mean,
but for some reason, when you told me, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore," my brain was like, "Okay."
Yeah,
and that was like the new rule was set, where I was like, "No, we're not doing that."
Yeah, and that's a thing. Like, to kind of like go on to another topic of like breaking cycles. Once you get out of a toxic cycle, you still have to do the work to prevent yourself from creating that toxic cycle for yourself. Because I think that a lot of people don't realize that like the reason why you fall back into these places is because you will put yourself in those places. And now that I'm my own boss, I'm not trying to do that anymore, you know? Now that I've built like a safe relationship with myself, I'm not trying to put myself in unsafe places. And I can easily have an unsafe relationship with myself. So I'm not trying to do that. Sorry, if you hear that, that's just Guinness walking around. Busting through the fucking separators, just not giving a fuck. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's a part of cycle breaking that I don't hear too often. That even in like when it comes to work hours or whatnot, the mundane, you can still be inadvertently putting yourself in positions of burnout. So how do we reduce that?
Yeah. So. And obviously this is a place of privilege that we speak from having our own business and being able to make our own hours, because a lot of people don't have that where they have to work multiple jobs and they have families to take care of, that like we don't have those responsibilities. So I just want to point that out, that like if you find yourself constantly burned out and you're like, hey, I've got 3 kids and I work multiple jobs, then like I am so sorry.
I know. Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah, that is rough. Yeah. We do speak from, I don't know. We worked hard to get to a place of healing where now it's like, okay, now we are each other's bosses and we find ourselves like in a very lucky position in our lives to be able to say that and do that. But again, I don't want there to be any shame if you're not in a position to do that. If you are working for somewhere else or, like you said, a single mom with 3 jobs and kids,
or a married mom
married mom.
Yeah.
not getting enough support in the household labor and tasks and emotional labor. How can you find rest in places? How can you build in rest in places that aren't traditionally seen as rest?
Yeah.
Because again,
I think that was where I really struggled, was like traditionally these things don't look like rest. Like listening to, like for me, TV is a big thing.
Yeah.
That like that's how I decompress, is like escaping through other people's stories. And that kind of leads us to like when on, was that Sunday? I think it was. I don't remember. Yeah, it had to have been Sunday. We were both home and both hella grumpy, and Caboose is like puttering around doing his own thing. And I went to go work out in the garage, and then I just got stuck sitting in the sun because I'm a plant and I like to just bake in the sun. Don't worry, I had sunblock on. But I like couldn't get the energy to work out even though I wanted to, and I was just grumpy. And then you came out and like joined me, and you were like, dude, I'm just grumpy. And then we decided, fuck it, we're gonna go get like, we both wanted to draw. So we were gonna go get like a beer at Pinion, which is like a local brewery kind of.
And our typical location is right next to the movie theaters, and it's also right next to this Mexican food restaurant that has really good margaritas. And we got there, and Pinion was unfortunately closed.
Yeah, they've closed that location.
Does not exist anymore. So we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll go get margaritas and draw. That location also closed on Mondays. So we were like, okay, great. Or Sundays. Okay, great. Let's just go watch a movie.
Yeah. So then we just, took ourselves to the movie and just brought like our tablets inside of the movie because we weren't going to leave them in the car. But then we got there, hecka early. So we got a little bit of work done.
Yep.
While we were waiting for the movie to start, and then just enjoyed a movie with like proper escapism. And for me, it is one of those things, like I've mentioned on the podcast before, like when my dad was in for open heart surgery, I just went to the movies. And it really is a place of like when I need to just get a complete reset, going to the movies feels like that for me. So that feels like a huge thing of like self-care. Whereas if I explain that to even like my therapist, like, yeah, I'm going to the movie, she would probably be like, okay, but like, what are you doing for yourself? I'm like, this is for myself.
Yeah.
I love the movies.
Totally.
And I think it is just taking those non-traditional approaches and being like, what does that look like for you? Because for us, that can also look like taking a shower. Or this morning, chopping like 4 inches off my hair.
It can look like working out, which a lot of people don't see that as rest, but like mentally, it's a reset,
Yeah, and it completes your stress cycle. So when you are highly stressed, which is what that movie did, because we were both like up here with just like,
can we talk
stress
about
and anxiety and hormones? And then, sure, absolutely.
Okay, so we went and watched Civil War. Holy fucking shit, you guys. It was dope. I didn't know anything about it other than like A24 produced it. And I typically like A24 films, even if they're fucking unhinged. So I knew that. And then Lou had also said that it was like the movie Leave the World Behind. It's like kind of that theme, which if you guys haven't seen that on Netflix, you should totally watch that as well. Super good. The book is also pretty good. But so we went in there and we were sitting next to like these two men, and even that they were jumping at certain parts. And it's so funny because we were getting frustrated with like one of the characters, and we just like flipped her off, and they were like hella laughing. And like it was just a fun group experience. I don't know who these two strangers were, but they were also fucking terrified and stressed the fuck out. At one point, Lou looked at me and my poor little hands. I was just like ringing, fidgeting, like, oh my God, what the fuck is going to happen? We liked it so much that we're going to watch it again with Caboose. So please go and watch it. It was a fucking awesome movie.
But know that it is quite intense.
It's intense, yeah.
We did not go into it thinking it's intense. If you've seen Children of Men, it's Children of Men vibes.
Literally.
Just in the US instead of in the UK.
Yeah.
So
it's
that
giving Children of Men.
Yes.
Absolutely. There's very little time for rest and funny and laughs and very little time. And then you're just right back into horror.
Yeah, just action the whole time. But it is great. But it was so like good. What we needed. Because like that for me is what makes movies so so immersive? Restorative for me is because like it was that shared experience with the other audience members. So like watching movies at home is great because we get to talk and like share those experiences.
Yep.
But watching them in a theater is wonderful because I look at them as that overarching project that all these people came together and then to create this beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And no matter what it's like designed to do, if it's designed to scare you, if that works, or if it's designed to inspire you, whatever it is, it's this like beautiful project that so many human beings came together to create. And then when you're in a movie theater with other people and experiencing it with them, how beautiful that is, because we then share that connection with other people. And that to me is like what makes going and seeing movies and supporting movies so important.
Period.
And like so restorative for me, where I'm like, yeah, I feel de-stressed. Now we left out of there literally yelling because there's like lots of loud noises. So we got home, we're like, oh wow! And Caboose is just like fucking
trigger warning. It's obviously in an active like war zone, so there's a lot of like guns and explosions and crazy shit. So yeah, our ears were blasted by the time that we were done with it, but like in a good way. Well done. In a good way, because that's definitely Civil War is one of those movies you should absolutely see in theater, because you'll get the full effect of the immersiveness of the battlefield and being someone who isn't trained to be there. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so fucking good. Yeah. Crazy. Well, do you have anything else to say about rest and de-stress?
No, don't put it on me. You wanted to do this.
Well, I mean, technically, I wanted to talk about the convention.
We can talk about the convention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're hitting a 26-minute mark, so it's still a good time to stop unless you won't have anything else to say.
No.
I mean,
now you put me on the spot, so now I don't know what to say.
Okay, that's totally fine. Well, I'm going to
Okay, so what's your win for the week? You have to do the traditional parts.
Yes. My win for the week. What is my win for the week? That's a wonderful question. Wonderful question. I think my win for the week is I'm getting back into tracking my macros, which is great, but I'm also getting back into working out. And typically I whole ass one thing and completely neglect the other thing. So I was really strict about my macros for like a couple weeks before the convention. But I wasn't working out, which like sucks, you know, like I enjoy working out. And so now this week I've found where I am tracking loosely and working out. And neither are perfect. Neither are like my 110%, but that's okay. So I'm my win for the week is being okay with these two things not being perfect and them coexisting.
Which also helps remove the stress of having to whole ass something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's like the important part, is that like you don't have to give something 100% to make it successful.
Yeah, I've realized that like for some reason, I've attached that 110% effort into feeling successful, but success doesn't have to be that intense all the time. So yeah, that's my win for the week. What was your win for the week?
You're about to get tattooed. That's my win, is finishing this fucking 2-year-old sleeve.
Yep.
Finishing your damn arm that's been incomplete for 2 years. I can't wait. And I'm aware that the fucking word is incomplete, but I don't like words that start with I.
That's
like
fine.
Incomplete.
Incomplete. Yeah, I'm excited to get tattooed. I mean, getting stabbed is not going to be fun, but that's okay.
Yeah. So on that note, this is a shorter episode, but let us know how you de-stress.
Yeah, I would love to hear it. Let us know your unconventional ways of de-stressing. Don't be gross about it. But
wait, what is that supposed to mean? You know, a good wank helps people deconstress. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.